Welcome to the webinar, Mastering Digital Patient Records, Enhancing Diagnostics and Case Presentation. The lecture is being presented by Yen Pinero and Kelly Bevington. We are going to begin shortly. And now it is my great honor to introduce tonight's speakers. Yen Pinero, RDA, CDD, Dexis iOS Solutions Specialist, also Dexis Queen. Yen is a digital solutions specialist at Dexis, helping her dental teams confidently adopt digital technology. With 30 plus years chairside experience and 20 plus years in digital dentistry and intraoral scanning, she makes workflows practical, efficient, and achievable, bridging clinical reality with modern innovation. And Kelly Bevington, NDX's Director of Intraoral Technology. She began her career more than 20 years ago as an RDA EFDA, graduating from Bryman College. She has a comprehensive knowledge of dentistry and the dental laboratory industry. Kelly has been professionally trained on most major devices and is able to provide expert chairside coaching. She manages the NDX clinical iOS training team and has clinically trained over 1,000 dentists and their teams. Kelly enjoys sharing her knowledge by presenting webinars and is a regular contributor to dental publications. And now it is my distinct honor to say, take it away, ladies.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We appreciate you managing everything behind the scenes. And I would say, along with your introduction of Yen and her being the Dexis Queen, she also makes learning fun. So I'm really looking forward to this evening. And just some disclosures, both Yen and I are employed respectively by NDX and by Invista. And with that, we have no outside commercial interest supporting this particular program. Thank you. And I like your little origamis. So I just want to recap the learning objectives that you signed up for. Sometimes I forget what webinars I sign up for, and then I'm on them and I'm like, oh, that's what it was about. So what we're going to be discussing tonight, what Yen is going to be discussing tonight, is how best to execute a predictable full arch intraoral scan workflow. How best to capture high quality digital snapshots as well as 2D images for patient education, and how best to interpret the digital bite heat maps that you'll see, and how to explain those occlusal issues to your patients. And then lastly is about integration and how best to integrate those digital records into a cohesive case planning and presentation strategy. So I always like to start off with a few questions to understand the audience and where you are on your digital journey. And I would encourage you to type into the chat if you would be so kind. Are you a beginner? Is this like brand new to you, intraoral scanning? Or are you perhaps fairly confident with your scanning capabilities? Or maybe you're the office champion and you're here to learn some tips and information to take back to your teams. And then the next would be, do you currently use an intraoral scanner? So if you could type into your chat box, and the chat box is located in the middle of the bottom bar to the left of the heart, which is the reaction button, allowing us to see if you currently have an intraoral scanner in your practice. Confident, yes, confident, love it. Love it. Excellent. Beginners, confident. Oh, somebody beat me to the next question already. And so the next question is, what system might you have? Oh, and that was a really good answer. Confident, but it depends on the system. It depends on the scanner. So I would say the same thing. I'm super confident with some scanners and more of a novice with a few others. So we've got Medit, Trios, iTero. Do we have any, let's see, you mentioned PrimeScan. Do we have any Dexis, any Medits? shining, elf. Okay, good. We've got a really nice mix. Excellent. And then what are we using our scanners for? If you want to type in, you could say everything. Are you scanning for patient records, right? A lot of people have the technology right at their fingertips and they're not utilizing it. So that's part of why Yen is doing the presentation this evening. And then other people might use it just for crowns or just for implants or just for aligners. And really with today's technology, you can use it for anything that you would have taken a PVS impression for. Very good. Very good. So aligners, crowns, implants, everything. Implants, planning, good. Dentures, retainers. Excellent. A really nice mix. Bite splints, crowns and implants. Nice. Appreciate you sharing. Appreciate you sharing your experience. Excellent. Anybody for All on X? Is anybody doing anything with All on X yet? We're getting more and more requests for, yes, okay, good. Request about education for that. And I would say, it's going to be a later program, but the benefit of some of the scanners that allow you to utilize the 2D and 3D technology with your intraoral scan, that can be very, very helpful with that. Excellent. All right. Yen, we've got some background on the audience now, and we're ready to roll.
All right.
Oh, I've got one last slide. Sorry. So one thing that Yen and I were talking about was how best do we begin that full arch scan, right? We're not talking about crown preps. We're talking about a new patient record scan. So a patient most likely with a complete complement of dentition. And for me, it's all about keeping the area dry. And I'm not a super big fan of just an air water syringe, right? Blow the saliva away. By the time I pick up my scanner, the saliva has swooshed back. So there's a few different items that help, especially new users, to create a good field of the oral cavity. So that might be like the Optrogate or the Comfort View at the bottom that just sort of is a lip and cheek retractor. Or if you're struggling with retracting lips, you could use something like ScanMate. But the NeoDry dry angles against the inside of the cheek, against the parotid gland, I think is awesome. Sometimes with some patients, every time you sort of pull the cheek, it milks that gland, and then all of a sudden you end up with a puddle on the mandibular arch. And I'm a huge fan of good old 2x2 gauze sponges and just wipe off the surfaces of the teeth, including the occlusal surfaces, just to eliminate all of the saliva bubbles. Thanks.
Me too. That's my go-to 2x2 gauze.
It's like easy, it's inexpensive, everybody has it, and it's there.
We're ready?
Yes.
All righty. Okay. So we're going to get started. Patient records. What? I have a scanner. I scan for crowns. I send to the lab. What do you mean, patient records? What do you mean? So what we once did in the analog world, we'd walk in, take an alginate impression, or PVS. But what were we doing with it after? Right? What were we doing with after? We were taking a baseline impression, perhaps for a study model. Perhaps we want to see what's changed from when the last time we've seen them, and we've done work on them now. How about for education? We take a study model, we mount it, we educate, and the goal is case acceptance. But really, what else? What else? So back in the days, I had three things in my tool belt. The original OG, and we all love this, was a mirror and explorer. That's how we showed our patients things in their mouth. We would pick up a mirror and an explorer. We would hand them a hand mirror, and we would point to things that we felt were suspect we wanted to share with them. And I was a chairside assistant, and along the way, I would yes, right? The patient would yes their head. And I'm right next door, right looking in, and I couldn't see it. Right? So then we evolved and we had something that was called a caries view. Oh, we're techie now. It looked like a little black gadget. I wish I would have put a picture on it. It had like a little bit of like a floss or like something in between where we would check and get these little light reflections to see if there were signs of maybe some interproximal decay. So that was the caries view for interproximals. We had the Diagnostics, which was a little probe that also was like a little bit of a red light. We put it on top of the occlusal table. It would make all kinds of noises. And according to the range, it was a suspect whether there was some decay in that tooth. The whole point is that these three things that we utilize in our tooth belt was for what? Was to actually being able to diagnose our patient and say, we need to take an x-ray, and this is the reason why.
And Jan, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. When we were talking about this earlier, what did I share? One of my favorite things about going to the dentist when I was a child was using the disclosing tablets, the disclosing solution, and swishing for my hygienist and like happily showcasing that you couldn't see the red or the pink on the surfaces of my teeth. So yeah, things have come a long way.
Oh my God. And they would leave to work and they have red Kool-Aid on their lips. And if it fell down their chin, oh boy, how are we getting it off, right? I love it. Yeah. It just tells you how long we've been in dentistry.
True.
All right. So what do we collect when we collect data? We're going to get a full arch of the upper, a full arch of the lower, and then we're going to take a bite. Let's talk about our initial data that we collect. Wouldn't matter what scanner it is in the market, and Kelly agrees with me that we always start with the occlusal table to start to build our model, right?
Yes.
When I'm on the maxillary arch, my second scan after that occlusal table would be my buccal. And clinically, here's the reason why. That's when the patient's lips will get tired and they start to tighten up. So I like to get that hard area out of the way. And then I would do my lingual data, and then I would start to collect my palate. When I go to the lower arch, I do something totally opposite. I collect occlusal table. And just a friendly reminder that when we're canine to canine, upper and lower, I'd love a little bit of wiggle buccal lingual to give me about 2 millimeters of buccal lingual on the sides or edges. So then we do build the buccal lingual wall. The scans will be seamless with no arrows to tell us that there's anything missing. So what did I say for my occlusal scan on the lower or maxillary, mandibular, excuse me? My first scan is going to be straight occlusal. And my second scan is going to be lingual. Why? Because lingually, that's when the tongue starts to rise. You start to pull saliva as they get tired. So I like to get that out of the way. So occlusal, then lingual, then buccal for the mandibular arch. Now, what's different from this software and others is that when we take the bite, it's very imperative that we understand what the software is doing, right? So with this software, you're going to take 2 bites on each side bilateral. They're going to be a point-to-point contact. What does that mean? We show the scanner when the patient occludes. And if we had 2 bite registrations on each side, that bite is going to be perfect. So when I take the bite scan, I put the scan in the mouth. I will show gingival tissue of the upper teeth. You'll watch the blue bite registration line up right into the model. And I will move my hand down, showing it the lower gingival tissue, and you'll watch the blue bite touch the lower model or mandibular. The action of the hand moving out of the mouth resets the bite to allow you to take more bites. So we want to do that 2 on each side. And that'll give you a solid bite, very predictable. You know that it's going to be perfect because you have 4 anchor points. What you think, Kelly?
I love that. I really do. I love the fact that you can take 4 bite registrations.
Yes. Oh, and I did forget something else that was very valuable. I need you to know that also, if you needed to take additional bites, whether it be a centric bite, an
Mhm.
open bite, or a different bite that you're measuring,
Like
you can go
for
ahead.
sleep appliances, like to put the patient in protrusive.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
Exactly. Yep. So we can take multiple bite scans, right? And you see the little pencil mark right here. What you do is you click on it and you document and you let them know, or you let the lab know, or just for information, this is a 2 millimeter open bite. This is a centric bite. You basically label the bite so you know what it is. Yeah.
Very good.
Mm. All right. So I think it's important to know that there's 3 ways that you can view your images. Because respectfully, I toggle all 3. There's just some data that looks cleaner or a little bit more easier to read in different views. Let's talk about that. The upper left is a 3D color. It's just a lifelike picture. It looks like what the teeth look like. You have the translucency, very lifelike, right? That's the latest view that we get today. We have what's called a 3D mesh view, which is, I consider, a cartoon image like of the scan. We also have another way of describing it, and this is what we normally use today, is we call it a POY file. That is a 3D mesh, cartoon looking. On the upper right is the black and white with texture, or AKA what we call STL. And the reason why I have this so big is because this is my go-to. You know, we read grayscale black and white. And when we're looking at little things like as far as margin and stuff like that, sometimes we get a really nice clean view here. Matter of fact, the labs use this quite often. Kelly, is it still trending? We're
Yes.
using it more often than the POY?
Yes.
Yep, yep, that is STL. All right. So let's talk about what else we have in the software.
As a matter of fact, Jen, I mean, really, most laboratories are using the monochrome or stone model mode
Yeah,
for their design work, right? So
yeah,
they have the view of the color, but when they're actually designing it, specifically in 3Shape, they are using the monochrome. With exocad, we're also using color, but the technicians and the way the design software is set up, it's easier to view for them in the stone model mode.
I agree. Yeah. AI, it's here. That's the buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. It's here. It's a tool that's going to help us. It does not take over our responsibilities and job description. I always say AI is just a first set of eyes, but our second opinion to you. But what in this preventative or wellness scan or patient records, I hear so many different ways when I walk into offices and how they describe when they collect this data. I'd like to point out AI and what it can do for you. So if you go to the lower and you see this little bit of yellow, you won't see that in your final scan, but what the yellow indicates after post-processing is that this area, although we have great data everywhere else, this one area that's yellow is just so that our eyes can pick it up and see that we missed some data there. But the data wasn't the size that the software can fill in with the AI. We will make a clinical call on whether we need to fill that in or we're okay with AI. So that's when my verbiage is first set of eyes, but second opinion to you.
Well, and I also like to state, like in a case like this, right? If you were maybe making a mandibular night guard, let's say, from this scan, that the yellow on the mesial of that cuspid would be okay for me to let AI fill it in because it is not impactful to the fabrication of the prostheses we've scanned for.
Correct. But Kelly, what if this was for line of therapy on the top?
I would want to go back in and rescan it to make sure that it was true, accurate data, not AI supported.
Why?
Because it's more accurate if it's really scanned versus I mean, AI is good. It's filling in points of data, but I don't know.
Yeah, you want that to fit nicely. Like
Yeah.
right there, I want to fill it in. Yeah. Mhm. All right, so let's look at the top. Oh, what the heck are all these arrows? That's our AI talking to us again.
It is.
It is. So the AI arrows indicates that the software recognized that maybe there's a little bit of a gap or a seam, right? And
Yes.
then what it wants you to do is pick up your scan and follow it. Go from the buccal, roll over to the lingual to be certain that we have a clean scan there. That's the AI. Here's a trick though, a tip and trick. How do we avoid getting those arrows? We talked about our initial scan of the occlusal table. Be sure that you have 100% of the occlusal table. And that 2 millimeter buccal lingo from canine to canine will be your certainty that you will not have those arrows. Because when you go to build the buccal lingual wall, it would overlay seamlessly. Yeah. The bottom picture that I show you, there's really nothing to show. Why? Because I'm going to show you it in a video. AI has the ability to filter when it sees something that was not a clean scan, but as you slowly hover over, it'll rescan it and clean it up for you. So that's another thing to think about. With the scanner, you can go at the speed that you want. So if you go into those hard to reach areas where the tongue's in the way and you just need a little bit more help, slow it down. Get your beings together, slow it down, get great data accurately. So understand that the scanner is going to go at the speed that you want. And there's times when we can go really, really fast. And there's times when we just need to slow down for accuracy. Let's go ahead and see it in action. As the video plays, you're going to watch that the AI is going to filter out the lip. It's not even going to collect the data. I want you to pay attention to the freedom above 8 and 9. You're going to see that there's going to be data that doesn't look right. It's a little bit misaligned, muddy. But if you watch, you see that as we hover over there, the AI will clean it up for us. So that box on the lower right is your live view, about a second delay, so that you have a heads up if anything is in the way. And then the middle is the actual data filling in. And here's another little trick. With the scanner, this is true data. So what you see is what's there. There's no need to post-process to see that you have your data collected.
Oh, I like how you said that. So what is on the screen is what you've captured.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yep. Thank you for saying that, Kelly, because
Sure.
it's true. Yeah. So this video is playing, and I'll let it play. We have trimming tools. The first tool is the polyline, dot, 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 double dot, and it'll remove it. The second one is a brush. Oh, excuse me. Let's go back. I apologize. All right, we can pause here. All right. So the second tool was a brush tool where we would use it like as a brush or an eraser, and we would just brush over. And the third tool was a circle cut and would make a complete circle cut. The video will play and you'll be able to see those functionalities again, the 3 different tools. What I really emphasize on this page is we do have another tool right here called the rewind tool, AKA my magical rewind button. I love this button. So here's the anatomy. Here's the story. This patient left out of the office already, and there's that artifact, which you all know it's a mint, it's cute. But if we went to go ahead and erase that, we'd erase that anatomy and the patient's not there. So how do we get it back? Well, that's when the rewind tool really becomes valuable. A matter of fact, I cannot wait for series 2, Kelly, when we show them how that can help us when we're collecting data for the margin and we just got one oops and we got to clean it up. Yeah, so let's see this in action. So there you go. I'm showing you all the tools. There's the brush, right? There you go. We're going to brush it off. But patient's gone. How are we going to collect that data again? Oh, that's the restore button. You always can bring it back, whatever you erased by accident. There's the rewind button. Let's go ahead and rewind back in time to where we introduced that error and just cut it off. Again, it's a cool button.
Yeah,
Use it.
that's very unique. I like it.
I do too. Yeah. All right, guys. We talk about images. Everybody has an intraoral camera in the office that they snap pictures. They take pictures with their phone. I need you to know that your scanner is also a camera. What does that mean? That means that we have 3 options within our image gallery. The first option is a camera. So you can just go ahead and pick it up and take a picture. You don't have to scan your patient. You just pick it up and take an intraoral picture. It could be a camera. The second one is a snapshot button. And what does that do for us? Just think about when I'm using my cell phone and I screenshot my screen. Same thing, we just screenshot what was on the screen. But one of the most powerful buttons that I really enjoy using is my intraoral. So if we had a full medical record scan of our patient, and the patient was gone and the insurance company came back and said, you know what, I need a picture of that tooth, and we never had one or we didn't take one. Had we had this medical record scanned in, we can really extract a medical image from our actual scans. Patient doesn't have to be here. It's always going to be there. So we'll get 9 images and a little bit of a different angle. And whatever you start and turn gold, it's going to save for you. So those are the 3 ways that we can collect images within our image gallery. Any questions coming in, Kelly?
No, I do not see any questions.
All right.
And I do encourage them, right? Encourage them as they come to mind. I actually have one on that. So you said that can you pause the video
Sure.
for a sec? That there's 9 different intraoral images from one full arch. Is that correct?
Yeah, so wherever we click with the cursor on the tooth of the full arch, it'll grab 9 images in a little bit of a different angle. And from those 9 images, we can pick the one that we like. Another way to explain that, Kelly, is that on my phone, I have a burst feature, and it gives me 3 seconds and it gives me 10 pictures, and I just save the one that I like.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we paused this video, but I love it because look at that tooth. Look at that, at the gum line. Look at that gold crown.
Yeah.
So let's see our image gallery in action. There you go. Let's do a snapshot. We're going to take a picture of the whole entire screen. There you go. And then we're going to do it one more time, where, as you see, wherever we could press on the tooth on our scan, it's pulling up images for us. We could show it the lower teeth. We can show them the tartar buildup before and after when the teeth got cleaned. We could show them cracks. There's so much we can educate.
I like to share a story about my husband, and Jessica's heard this numerous times, but we are so accustomed to trying to educate our patients with x-rays, right? As dental professionals, that's what we do. And my husband changed dentist, and he saw somebody that had an intraoral scanner. And the first thing they did when he arrived was they took a new patient record, right? He then had his teeth cleaned. The dentist comes in and tells him they're recommending a crown on number 14. They bring up the scan, not x-rays, but they bring up the scan, and they're able to show him his old amalgam filling, his MOD, that has a black line through it that is a fracture and is, pushing his tooth apart every time he closes down on it, and recommending the crown to protect his tooth. And it made perfect sense to him. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do it. He goes, my old dentist has been telling me for a couple years I needed a crown on that tooth, but he tried to show me some x-rays, and I'm a helicopter mechanic. I don't know anything about teeth. And I was like, that's like what we do. Right? So
That's what we
the
do.
power of technology like this is a communication tool for your patient to educate them about their oral health is just so powerful. So powerful.
It is, it is. Let's see what other tools we have in our tool belt.
We do have a question. Can you take a picture specifically of a core buildup?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And can you use the DEXA scanner strictly as, let's see, can the DEXA scanner be used as a camera, or is there a separate camera attachment? There's not a
No,
separate attachment.
that is a great question. The
Yeah.
DEXA scanner is actually, the DEXA scanner can actually be utilized. I'm sorry, the slides are they just want to keep the organ we keep wanting to go by. But the DEXA scanner can be utilized just as a camera. So eliminates you having to have two cameras in the office, right? Or in the
Yeah.
operatory. Because it's built in. Yep. You pick up your scanner, you turn it on, and you take a picture. Yes.
Terrific. Now, do we need to go backwards? I'm sorry, I missed that.
I do. I'm going to press once only.
Yeah.
Right. Let's bring it back in. All right. What is this? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We'll get it right. We'll get it right because I like this too. Let's bring it back and I'll show the video again. Mm-hmm. All right. So this is how I'll be able to take those pictures. And that was really fast, but I'm going to pause and I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. And you'll see it again at the end. So let's just take a pause and we'll talk about that. So back in the days, Kelly, and I was so envious of a lot of the dental assistants that took amazing photography, right? We would get training. We sent them to classes and they would learn how to, retract, the mirror's getting foggy, pull the lips out, take a picture with your camera. We used to schedule.
Lester Dine. I had the Lester Dine camera in our office.
Yeah, and we would schedule 30 to 45 minutes chairside time to take these pictures, load them in, crop them up, and voila, we would turn them around and show our patients. Well, within the software, there's a button.
With soaped models. Do you remember that?
The which one?
So we soaped the models so that they were white and bright and shiny to treatment plan along with the photography to the patients. So this is sort of like AI of that physical work we did for years, right? That literally took hours to do.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. Yeah. So and I'll show you another image of that at the end.
So
but since we're
heat
here,
map, right?
Yeah, one heat map now. Yep. So since we're here, let's talk about this. So I always say this is a heat map. It reminds me of the weather map. I'm always watching the weather. As someone who travels so much, we always want to know what's coming up, right? Where's the heavy storm? So as you can see, just think about the heat map or weather map. It's going to show you where the patient articulates and where they articulate very lightly and where they get a little bit heavier in the articulation, or where they grind or bite heavier on certain areas of the mouth. And it's represented by the colors. We also have the ability to slide left to right to be able to see in real time closely how the anatomy is occlusally and what's happening. We can take it up one more notch and be able to see and measure distance between teeth. And this tool also becomes very valuable when we go into the restorative world because we can check for reduction. or lack of clearance. All right. So in the software, the adapt button is the ability to go ahead and build a base. And some office will build a base to go ahead and send it to the 3D printer. But I do have offices that will build a base for case presentation. They love it. Mhm.
I think it
Let's see
looks
it in action. What is it, Kelly?
I think it looks cleaner.
I do. I agree. It's an extra step, but some people really can, they really enjoy that button. Yeah. So there you go. We can go ahead and get it ready for 3D printing. Mhm. Let's talk about another tool in our tool belt that can help with our patients. That's AutoSim. And that's real time how fast it is to simulate the possibilities. Now, please understand that this is just another tool in our tool belt to help our patient visualize possible changes that can happen in the mouth if they accepted or wanted to go along and get an ortho consult. So it's a quick way to show our patients the possibilities to get an acceptance of, yes, you know what, I think I'm going to go do it, that ortho consult. I'm ready. Or compare is another tool we have in our tool belt. What it is that it can share, it can monitor data or any changes in the mouth. Now, as you can see, there's 2 timeline dates on here, scanned at 2 different days. And what it does is it overlays the 2 images so you can see the changes that happen in the mouth, whether the gums have receded, the bite has changed, something has broken, or in this instance, this patient is going to aligner therapy. The blue represents the first scan, and the brown is the second scan. So you can see how the teeth are moving. Yeah, they are moving because that patient is in aligner therapy. So that
That's
is the
really
oral
nice to be able
compare.
to show the patient that comes in and says, I don't think this is working. My teeth haven't moved at all. And you can show them something like this that really does show them up close and personal where those changes have already begun.
Yeah. Or how about when they chip their teeth 8 and 9 because they need
Mm,
a night guard, and we've told them for 20 years that they needed a night guard, and then Mrs. Smith comes back and be like, you know, number 9,
yeah.
I chipped it a little bit more since the last
Yeah.
time I seen you. And you're like, you know, I've been telling you for 20 years, I know you grind, you have other signs, and yes, you do chip your teeth, but I don't know what happened from 6 months ago when you got your teeth cleaned till today. But to be able to overlay and truly see that she is chipping 8 and 9 a little bit more. And then Mrs. Smith turns to you and tells you, you know what, can you make me a night guard? It's a rinse and repeat. We've told her for 20 years, but until she validated and seen it, she told us what she wanted to do. Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
Right? Yeah. Incredible the things that we could do now. This is something that I get questioned a lot. Oh boy, what are we going to do? What does refine resolution mean? We've collected our scan. We're ready to send it, ship it somewhere, and we got to make these decisions. So let's talk about, what about choices? Study models, night guards, surgical guides, restorative bite adjustments, high def. Oh my, what does it all mean? So when we look at this image over here, the green means that you got great data. I love that we have safety things in place to make sure that we double check. And the yellow scan represents that there was one scan warning, the error that we see, and that you should perhaps maybe go back and collect that data, right? So that's a scan warning for us. Let's talk about the bite adjustment, basic and optimal. Oh my, what does that mean? Well, there's no right or wrong answer, but I can tell you what I think. Oh my preferences and why. When we do basic bite adjustment, what happens is when the patient occludes and we collect the bite, that's it. That's what it is. Don't modify it. If optimal is on and the software recognizes that perhaps the patient was over occluded or under occluded, it might make some adjustments and calculate and just move it a little bit. There's no right or wrong answer, but that's what's happening. So for
Can
me,
you,
I
can
like
you
basic.
turn that on or off? Can
Yeah, you have a choice, basic
you
or
do?
optimal. Yeah, whatever's blue is what's on.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about refinement. I get that question a lot. Standard is for anything that is removable or study model, meaning you're going to come in and out, right? We need a passive fit. High is for anything restorative that is going to stay in the mouth and be cemented. We also have the super high. What is the difference? Well, we process in super high, it will take a little longer, but there's going to be times when our data was really challenging. And this is more for the restorative world where I need a little bit of help. High def my margin a little bit more to help aid in the detection for the lab. So as we go into series 2 and start to talk about restorative, we can see and compare the difference between high and super high. So
Very
high
good.
is good for restorative, but there's going to be times when we just need a little bit more help. And that's where super high comes into play. When we talk about mesh rendering, there's normal and there's high def. I'm high def. We like everything in high def. That's what we like to see, right? High def. So yes, high def, that's my go-to. So the scanner has this manual bite capture. When it's blue and it's on, it gives you the ability to take a second and really look to see where the scanner is pointing to before you press the button and start to collect the bite. So you're certain that your patient is occluded in the proper way expected. When the manual bite is off, the bite will automatically collect the minute the scanner sees teeth. So for the really good fast user, they might be able to get the patient to occlude before the scanner starts to collect. But if you want more control, manual bite should be on so you can control when you're actually collecting the data for the bite registration. I'm a manual bite on girl. Yeah. Auto
So
save raw data.
you prefer the manual bite?
I do because I want to be certain that I have control and I know that my patient is closed the way that I want them before I start to collect the data. I want my bite to be accurate. If it's off, I can really throw my whole case off. Yes.
And do you have a recommendation with this particular software, whether to have the patient in a more upright position or laying back in the dental chair?
You know, I hear a lot of schools of thought, but me traditionally, when we get the bite, they're sitting up still, right? They're still sitting up. So we tend to collect it in the upright position. But I do
That's
have
my
clinicians
favorite as
that
well.
do it. I do have
Yeah.
them who do it laying down. Yep. So I love this button. I want everybody to make sure that it's on. The autosave raw data will be certain that we'll never lose a case. So what does that mean? That means that if we power off our scanner laptop and we didn't save our file, when we power back on and we go to start scanning, it's going to tell us that we have a file that we didn't save. And do you want me to bring it in? So you'll never lose a file. The byte registration output, I'd like you to leave that on. And that's for you, Kelly. That's for the lab.
Okay.
Yeah. And what does that mean? We don't want you to think about anything. We want things to be so smooth. So when byte registration output is on, that just means that we're going to send a separate byte registration to the lab digitally.
Yep.
That way, if Kelly needed the byte separate, she does not have to come back and ask for it at a later date. We're just going to send it. We're not going to think about it. And if Kelly doesn't need it, she won't grab it. But if she needs it, it's there. No need for back and forth. No need for delays.
And are all of these items in settings, or is this per patient that you can customize this?
Kelly, they're in settings.
Got
We can change them as needed, customized per patient, but they're in settings.
Very good.
And the auto save quadrant snapshot, I turn that off unless it's the ortho office because we don't really need all of that snapshots with every single scan that we take. It'll just start to, be a lot of pictures, right? Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. So we're ready to send the file, right? What are the options? There's so much we can do. These are the targeted 3D printers that we align with. If you wanted to just save the file to the desktop, you know where the file is, check this box. You also have the option of how you want to save it. POY, high def, POY, STL. We also have these quick connects. We can align to Spark, SprintRay 1. We have DDX, Smilefy, which is an app where you can see the changes in restorative dentistry, like we wanted to do full mouth rehab, crown and bridge. But here's where all the magic happens. This is all our labs right here. So when we're ready to send to the lab, we just go ahead and pick our lab, click on it, and it's going to go ahead and send us right to the lab slip page. And you're going to see it happen. We're going to pick our lab. There's our lab slip. You can fill it out. Make sure you put your due date so you know when the case needs to be back. And you just send it like an email digitally. Now, where do those scans live when we're all done and we sent them to the lab, or we went home, right? We got out of the scan page, we're home. Where do the scans live? Well, there's 3 places that the scans can live. If we just had a standalone configuration, they would always live right back into the home page. If we were a DEXIS users and we had DEXIS, it can live in the DEXIS homepage. And if you
And
were
is that cloud-based?
the DEXIS cloud-based, DEXIS is server-based. The DEXIS
Server-based. Got it.
yeah. And then the third option would be the DTX Studio Clinic. That is the most robust one. That is the one that most of my accounts who have a CBCT will have that, because they can see all the 2D, 3D, in any intraoral pictures, anything in one platform, one patient page. So those are the 3 ways that the scans will go back and where they live after you collected the data. Those are the 3 options. So I know that the scan page that we were on made a little, I glitched a little bit and we couldn't see the quadrant snapshot, but there it is. We talked about those pictures, and with a click of a button, I was able to create that in 3 seconds. We can print it and email it to we can print it and send it home with the patient, and we can email it to the patient. They've never seen their mouth like this. So imagine going to another practice, they would want to look for something like that, right? So these are the things that we're able to show patients today. I think it's important to educate and market to the patient that sat in your chair and believe in you. I think that's the best. I think that's the ones that truly do make an impact. All right. So again, here's a close-up of the data that we can send to our patient. And this right here is going to be a video. So today, right now, we can send videos to our patient. What's so comical to me is that I love this feature. And, it's quick. You send an email to the patient phone, and then they go sit in their car and they're leaving. I promise you, especially if they're techie or like, like very innovative, they're going to watch this video before they even drive off.
They're so anxious to see it, right?
It is. But, think about it. We've never been able to see our mouth in this magnitude. It's like me looking in my ear. I can't see what's in my ear.
Yeah.
I don't know. But so it's amazing what we can do today with digital dentistry.